Welcome to Diecast Restos. I'm Jason and this is the Lesney Matchbox Major Pack M9 Interstate Double Freighter set. It comprises of a Hendrickson relay tractor and a pair of twin-axle trailers, with a 2-axle bogie or dolly connecting the two trailers together in order to form a road train. All of the important components are present for this restoration except for the rear doors, which were missing on both trailers. You'll often see loose pre-owned trailers missing the bogie. I've noticed when a rogue one of these crops up on eBay, they're usually sold for a high price. Reproduction Cooper-Jarrett decals were also needed for the trailer sides and front ends. Otherwise, this set is ready for a refresh of its battered paintwork and a bit of straightening on its bent body. Here's how a mint M9 set looks in the same spec as mine. And this is one of the very few images of the real Hendrickson relay double freighter operating for Cooper-Jarrett. I've sourced the reproduction parts today from Steve Flowers Model Supplies. You can find a link to the Model Supplies shop in the video description. The trailers are fairly easy to dismantle, as both ends have a tongue and slot fitment connecting the trailer chassis and body. The only riveted parts that need drilling out are the small base plate on the cab and the roof mounted horns that also secure the tinted transparency. One of the trailers also had this twist tie wrapped through its towing eye, indicating this may not be an original matching set. Perhaps it was part of a set missing a bogie and this was used to tow along the following trailer, who knows. Once I'm into the innards of the tractor, you can see the rivet that is holding in the transparency. To remove this, I utilise my shallow 5mm drill bit, which I've modified to a less aggressive cut. This means I'm less likely to drill through the roof of the cab. With the window out, I struggle to remove the horns. It takes a bit of force before they come away. They've been squashed a little, so I'll try fixing them with my centre punch later. Now it's time to remove the 18 wheel sets from each of the chassis. Safety specs on, of course, to prevent any metal shards flying into my eyes. Being a model that is around 60 years old, some of the wheels have seized with rust. Nothing a squirt of WD-40 won't sort out. So while I'm finishing off the dismantling phase of this restoration, let's talk about the model's history a little. The M9 was introduced in mid-1962. The Hendrickson truck cab was always painted blue, had a black base plate, and it had a green tinted window piece. Usually, the roof-mounted horns were sprayed gold, but some rare variations exist with silver horns fitted. Two different horn castings were used during production, which had wide or narrow openings. My pair are looking a little better after pushing out the parts that had been crushed. One variation to the cab base plate was the removal of quotation marks surrounding the Hendrickson name fairly early on. Mine features these inverted commas, meaning it's an early example. Axles for the cab, dolly and trailers were all dome head with rounded ends. The trailer body and chassis were painted silver and had either silver or blue painted opening rear doors. One rare issue saw trailers painted grey all over. While the trailer chassis managed to squeeze into the caustic soda bath bowl, the bodies proved too big. So their silver is stripped with liquid paint stripper instead in a larger tub. Trailers originally had tongue and slot fitments connecting the body and base all round. Later though, the front connection was swapped for a rounded rivet and a post was cast inside the trailer. Again, this shows that my set was an earlier type. Another feature evidencing this are the wheels that were moulded in pairs. These twin wheels could later be found on the 1963 to 1968 6C Euclid dump truck, which I worked on a few years back. These wheels featured on all axles except for the front tractor axle. They have deep recesses, so I have to be a bit inventive with how I reattach the wheels to the axles, as you'll see later on. The forwardmost axle had narrower single width wheels fitted, which had wheel nuts moulded in. Again, these were shared with the front axle of the Euclid dump truck. Later on in production, all of the twin moulded wheels were removed in favour of individual black plastic wheels. I briefly had one of those sets in my possession, but I quickly moved it on as I far prefer the more unique double moulded sets. Initially and most commonly, the trailer was adorned with yellow Cooper-Jarrett ink decals in a distinctive arrow shape on either side, conforming to a flat shape cast onto the trailer body. At the front end of the trailer, a smaller Cooper-Jarrett ink rectangle decal can be found. Another hard to find variation occurred with the decals. The yellow and blue was swapped for a red and white Cooper-Jarrett International set. Again though, I prefer the original design. The only trim the entire model received was solely to the cab. The grille and headlights were coated in silver, but that was it. Lesney's Major Pack range was deleted in 1967, and with it went the Cooper-Jarrett. But what of the real Cooper-Jarrett ink? They were formed in 1934 in Missouri by Sam Jarrett and Robert E. Cooper Jr. The company started by operating a single truck, providing logistical services into and out of the Kansas City area. The following year, with Cooper wanting to expand eastwards and Jarrett reluctant, Cooper would buy out Jarrett. The business expanded, and by the mid-50s it was operating a relay system, where drivers would travel for 4 hours in one direction, switch equipment with another driver coming from the opposite direction, and then return home. Cooper-Jarrett's operations spanned 15 states, from Massachusetts to Illinois and Wisconsin. By 1965, the company was the 36th largest US motor carrier, with their headquarters located in Morristown, New Jersey. But following deregulation in 1980, which drastically increased trucking competition to Cooper-Jarrett, the company hit financial issues. It filed for bankruptcy in December 1981, closing down all operations. Cooper-Jarrett were notable for their use of Hendrickson tractors with tandem trailers, hence Matchbox and other model manufacturer recreations. But what of Hendrickson, you ask? Well, the Hendrickson Motor Truck Company was founded in 1913 by inventor and businessman Magnus Hendrickson. Based out of Chicago, the company produced trucks often equipped with cranes used to haul stone and other building materials. In 1926, the company introduced the first tandem truck suspension, which distributed the truck's load evenly between two rear axles. This system both improved traction and reduced the effects of bumps in the road on the load. The system was supplied exclusively to International Harvester from 1936. In 1985, the company sold its truck manufacturing side of the business to focus solely on suspension systems. Hendrickson Holdings continues to operate to date, as does HME Incorporated. HME is Hendrickson Mobile Equipment and was organised in 1985 following the Antome Group's purchase of Hendrickson's truck manufacturing activities. The company shifted into specialist equipment manufacture, namely custom fire truck cabs and chassis. HME were the first fire truck manufacturer to introduce a tilt cab-over chassis model, and were also the first to create compressed natural gas powered fire apparatus. There's not a great deal of information available about the Hendrickson cab-over truck itself, which the model is based on. Hopefully a wise soul can provide us with a bit of useful information down in the comments. Well, we're almost 10 minutes into this restoration, and some of the parts are only just being primered and painted. Some of these major packs, such as this and the Pickford's transporter I've previously worked on, have so many components. I think that is why these are some of my more satisfying builds. They really pushed the envelope at this scale. I would love to have had both of these sets from brand new. These restorations are good enough for me though. Anyway, I'll stop talking for a little while and leave you to enjoy some clear coating and decal application. How good are those repro decals from Steve Flowers Model Supplies? I've been wise this time and clear coated the body before decal application. That's because the clear coat has, on occasion, reacted badly to the decal paper that they use. Here though, I'm having to create a burr on the axle ends that is small enough to accept the wheel onto the axle, but large enough so that the wheel won't easily come off again. Quite the operation across 8 separate axles. The 9th at the front was pretty straightforward due to its lack of recess. Next, it was time to push fit the horns cum rivet for the window piece. Ow. Oh, bloody thing. A little too hard onto my thumb. That indentation lasted for a while. To help the rivet along, I also use a bit of Yoo-Hoo Universal Adhesive to ensure it's firmly held in place. To finish off the trailers and the build overall, I need to balance the doors in position. Then I refit the double tongue fitments of the chassis to the slots of the trailer body. Now I can try them out. So this was how the Lesney Matchbox M9 Interstate Double Freighter was looking before I set to work on it. I could barely fit this set into my photo booth, let alone onto the turntable. I love the bulk of this model. It's little wonder that it was a big hit during its 5 years in production in the 60s. Mine was missing its rear doors on both trailers, and most of the distinctive Cooper-Jarrett ink decals had chipped away. But here is how it now looks. Sometimes Steve Flowers Model Supplies absolutely nail their decals, and the yellow arrows of Cooper-Jarrett absolutely fall into that category. They look stunning, especially cut to shape. The aluminium coat is a new high coat shade for me. I'm really pleased with its finish on both trailers. The doors are a little pitted in places, but that is commonly the case with repro metal parts. I could have replaced them with 3D printed plastic instead, but I preferred the authenticity of the metal. The TS15 blue looks a good match to the original shade on the truck cab and Dolly, and I love the pop of the golden rooftop horns. Tell me what you think of the restoration down in the comments, and please subscribe if you haven't already done so. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, but all that leaves me to say is thanks for watching, and I'll see you again for the next one. Bye for now.